What's going on, folks? Rich here for RageWorks, checking out a brand new AEW Gallery statue from Diamond Select. This one, a favorite, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. As we've come to expect with Diamond Select, when it comes to their AEW pieces, the box is pretty straightforward. You're going to get your 3 windowed sides, and you're going to get your sunroof. The one thing that I've come to expect with AEW when it comes to their offerings is that their wrestlers are always going to have a pretty paint-by-numbers bio on the back of the package. And the American Dragon is no different. You get your height, you get your weight, you get your finisher, and that's pretty much it. This is a key opportunity where some additional information would be welcome, like what pay-per-view this is from, what ring gear this is, or the match. Something so small only because it just adds a little bit more information to the packaging. Obviously, we get to see 2 of the upcoming AEW statues or current AEW statues, some that we've even checked out on this channel. But overall, the package, pretty pedestrian, but it does something which is always very important for me as a statue buyer. It gives me a glimpse of the statue right off the bat. Because a lot of times, and we've seen this in promotional images, statues look really great because, again, you got lighting, you got color correction, etc. You're not seeing them truly with the naked eye. This statue with the windowed packaging gives you ample opportunity to see every bit of detail and every flaw as well. Let's crack this box open, take a look at the American Dragon, and see if he's a welcome addition to your collection. All right, so we got Bryan Danielson out of the box. This particular version of him is wearing his AEW attire from AEW All Out 2023, a no DQ match with Ricky Starks. It was a strap match, and you would have thought, hey, why isn't this statue covered in blood? Well, we are getting one that is, much like all the other AEW statues, focused on the entrance. And this particular entrance is very special because Bryan Danielson brought back the Final Countdown. And if you're an old school wrestling fan, especially when it comes to Ring of Honor, you know that as soon as that song hit, the entire dynamic, the energy, and the vibe of the arena changed. And when it comes to the American Dragon and AEW, that music, as soon as it hit, was one of those moments that you really could just capture in a bottle like lightning because it was so special. The crowd singing along, him just basking in the glow of it, much like you see in this statue. The only thing I have to say that's noticeable for me when it comes to this statue is something that I've come to notice with Bryan Danielson, and I feel like it's mainly because I've seen him wrestling for so many years. And it's a usual patch of pale skin that is usually on his torso. Now, I don't know if that's because of a health condition or maybe it's a birthmark, but it's something that you've come to notice, especially in his later years where he's tanning just a little bit more for color. Obviously, in this particular AEW statue, that is not the case. A small nitpick from me because, again, we're going for what the superstar looks like currently, but just something that stuck out for me. Looking at the statue closer, you're going to go into a lot of the finer details of the ring attire, which, again, captured the entrance attire from the pay-per-view. If you know the American Dragon and you've watched him wrestle, you know it's always going to be some sort of a dragon-themed attire, and it's going to have its usual crimson or reddish hue. In this particular case, a little darker than usual because I feel like his Ring of Honor stuff was slightly lighter in color, but it was also just a different time when he was chock full of violence. This particular AEW incarnation of Bryan Danielson, definitely serious, but also a little bit carefree, a little happier, much like you can see in this figure. One of the particular details that I enjoyed from this, and I've noticed in other AEW figures, is the attention to detail when it comes to the hair and the musculature. In this particular statue, if you look here, the hair actually looks like a fresh tape-up, a fresh fade that Bryan Danielson has. And again, it's one of those things, if you've watched him wrestle, you know he either has like the stringy hair, but as of late, always a nice clean top knot. Same thing with the beard, very clean, very well kept, far departure from his GOAT days if you were watching WWE programming. Again, a great incarnation of the figure. And as somebody who's been watching him wrestle for such a long time, probably from all the AEW statues, my favorite piece. While the other statues were great in terms of capturing those iconic moments, especially the Jon Moxley and the CM Punk. This one is just everything about Bryan Danielson that as a fan you've come to expect. He's happy, he's basking in the glow of the crowd, and more importantly, it was just a time when I felt AEW as a promotion was reaching a fever pitch. You had this guy putting on amazing matches week in, week out. More importantly, with a lot of the AEW roster that was on the come up and a lot of AEW's established performers as well. Probably my favorite statue in the line from top to bottom. The only thing that sticks out, aside from, like I said before, the lack of the birthmark, is he seems a little squished when watching Bryan Danielson for so many years in various promotions. He is a smaller guy, but his torso seems longer than his legs, and I always felt like that's not necessarily the case. He's a compact performer, but the scale is just a smidge off. Now, obviously, I can go into the intricacies of head size and all of that, but that's not my bag. My thing is, looking at the statue from up close, you just notice that the torso seems in proportion, but the legs don't. But as I looked at it a little closer, even prior to starting this review, one of the things I feel that probably throws it off also is the positioning of the legs, because you're trying to also establish this position here, and there's a little bend in the ankle that I was noticing, and I'm like, maybe it's just the way that the angle is of the knee is coming out that makes him look scrunched. But again, a small nitpick from me, minus the whole, like I said, vitiligo birthmark thing. But overall, a kick-ass statue. One of the other things I wanted to point out before we wrap things up is this clear stand. If you're an action figure collector, you know clear stands like this from companies like Storm Collectibles, Hasbro. It's great to see something like this in a statue because, number one, it prevents the piece from falling over, but more importantly, it's just a nice appearance. There's no black bar, no weird thing behind it. It just looks like a perfect, iconic moment from right out of an AEW television show or a pay-per-view. And I like this particular approach. Best of all, you don't have to worry about the statue falling off. It's really very well put together, and I think that this is something that I'd like to see in more pieces from Diamond Select that are capturing moments like this from professional wrestling. I would love to see something like this in a Kenny Omega piece, if he's doing his standing on the turnbuckle, doing goodbye and goodnight and the finger point. I think this would be a great piece to use. Overall, if you want to add this piece to your collection, it gets a huge endorsement from me. We're going to include links in the notes for this video for you to check out Bryan Danielson for your collection from a couple of different retailers. If you'd like to learn more about this and any of the other reviews, make sure to also check our links in the notes for this video. We've done a couple of other AEW Gallery pieces that we'd love for you to check out. I'm Rich on behalf of RageWorks. Thanks for checking out this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Yes!